Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to the latest edition of FranCoach's Franchising 101 podcast. I'm Tim Parmeter, founder and CEO of FranCoach and your podcast host. Today, we are going to talk about a topic that was actually brought up by one of our FranCoach clients. It has to do with time, and he had a specific part of kind of all of this that he was asking about from a time perspective. But it really kind of opened the door to a whole bunch of other things that are all going to revolve around time. So that's what we're going to chat about today. First, as always, a quick reminder of who we are. And FranCoach is a national search firm dedicated to working with individuals interested in owning a franchise. Number one goal is to help get you properly educated on all things about franchising to help you determine if this is the right path. And if so, which is the best franchise for you to own. We're partnered with well over 600 of the top franchisors in the country, spanning nearly 70 industries. The reason we have so many things, we're not just like trying to slam you into the 20 or 30 that we do have, or maybe somebody else is paying our bill and we're sending them all there. That's not us. That's other people. We're here to really, truly, properly educate you on franchise ownership. Now, when it comes to franchise ownership and looking and exploring this, it's time. And so the question that was posed the other day by one of our FranCoach clients was, how much time do they need to spend to be able to kind of complete this journey with us to determine if they should and which one? We often refer to this process, especially once we connect people to franchises, as the discovery process. You know, it takes a few steps before we get there, usually kind of three components before we're ever ready to say, okay, here's 3-ish brands that we want to select for you. We want to connect you to. And there's a reason we only do usually three or four, almost always it's that range. It's a very small number, is because if we're not doing our job, then we're not going to know what those are. And so if we're just being lazy and go, here you go, here's 10 or 15 things, have at it. Well, frankly, what the heck do you need somebody like us for? We should be very, very targeted in our process and our search to get you those 3 or 4 brands to connect you with. But how much time does it take for you to explore this, right? Because right now you're like, I don't know if I'm going to own a franchise. I don't know if it's right for me. Well, that's why you talk to us, but how much time? And so prior to getting you connected to franchises, it's really not much. Our first call with our team is usually 15, 20 minutes. Pretty simple. If we advance from there, there's a profile you're going to fill out that takes 10 or 15 minutes. You do it online, do whatever the heck you want. Our second call is an hour, because that's really the most important piece, where we are building out what you want this business to look like. That allows us to be able to do the research. So it's educated, it's targeted. It's not just throwing a bunch of you-know-what against the wall. The third time we speak, it's when we are going to kind of present those brands to you. That can take 45 minutes to an hour for that call, right? So really not time intensive at all. But now we've just introduced you to 3, maybe 4 franchises. That discovery process is 6 to 8 weeks on average. There's going to be anywhere from 10 to 15 different steps before we ever get to the end. And you're like, yes, this is the franchise for me. Small point, they have to say, yeah, you're our person as well. And we're signing that franchise agreement. So again, on average, 6 to 8 weeks. Can that take longer? Of course it can. Can that be a little faster? Of course. So how much time during that week, maybe each week, do we need to spend on this? And what I would tell you is probably 3 to 5 hours. Think almost like an hour a week for each brand, if we're staying on kind of that cadence. And again, you've got to be able to carve out some time during the day. Don't go, well, I got a job from 8 to 5. So can the franchise call me at 8:00 p.m.? Like, no, they have lives also, right? Are there times that franchises or even our team can talk a little bit outside of our like kind of normal business hours? Yes, but really, how important is it if you can't find a couple hours, 3, 4, 5 hours a week to dedicate to this, to be able to have, if we have 3 franchises, maybe that's 3 calls over the course of a week. Those are going to be 45 minutes to an hour. There's probably going to be a call with our team to kind of recap that round of calls. That's going to be anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour, right? Those things are probably during the day. Are there going to be homework things that the franchise is going to say, hey, I'm going to send you this video, watch this before our next call? Yes. Can you do that at 10 o'clock at night, sit on your couch in your underwear? Absolutely. Keep the last part to yourself, right? But you do really need to probably think about having that amount of time. Now, can we stretch that out a tiny bit if somebody's really tapped for that time? Yes. Yes is the short answer to that. But the caveat is, I'm going to question, the franchisor is probably going to question, is this really that important to you? Right? Like, all I've got is like 1 hour a week I can dedicate to this. Again, I'm going to be pretty honest and go, I don't know how serious this is. So that's where, again, but in the grand scheme of things, if we don't have 4 or 5 hours a week, roughly business hours, are you West Coast and maybe you need to get up a little bit earlier? Is it East Coast? Maybe it's a little bit later after work, something like that. Like, sure, there's some ranges in there, but don't expect every franchise to say, yeah, I can totally talk to you on Sunday afternoon. Like, no, don't ask me. I'm going to tell you no. Because we all have lives too, just like you do. Hey everyone, I wanted to take a quick break from our podcast to tell you about our amazing friends at Entrepreneur. If you're looking to become a franchisee or simply learn more about business ownership, and guys, let's be honest, you're listening to the Franchising 101 podcast, so we know you have some interest in this. And I really encourage you to go to entrepreneur.com to check out all of their great content and resources. Seriously, Entrepreneur has everything, all the way from a bookstore to the best podcasts, webinars, and videos, plus information on upcoming events and the latest articles that seriously, they cover all aspects of franchising and business ownership. If you're having trouble deciding which franchise is right for you, start with Entrepreneur's renowned Franchise 500 ranking, which highlights the best franchises of 2022. For 45 years and counting now, Entrepreneur has been and continues to be the most widely recognized and respected authority in the franchise market. Digital and print subscriptions are available, so you never miss out on anything. So seriously, what are you waiting for? Go to entrepreneur.com right now and learn more. So that's where, again, sometimes it can be a little faster, it can be a little slower, but it's really not too terribly difficult in that discovery process to find 3, 4, 5 hours a week. My wonderful, beautiful, amazing, super talented wife will always say, like, ask people, how much time are you spending on social media, right? How many time do we have this thing in front of us and we're like in this motion? Probably more than we care to admit. And for those of you that have jobs, probably more than your bosses want to know. So that's the discovery process. Now, what about being an owner? We've talked a lot about this. Are you going to jump in full-time? Great. Then treat it like a full-time job. One of the 2 biggest mistakes a franchise owner can make, number 1, not following the plan. Number 2 is not spending the time, which is really part of number 1. If it's supposed to be your full-time gig and you're spending 15 hours a week, don't bitch to the franchisor. Don't come back to us and complain about the franchisor because it's not going well. That's you, right? Semi-absentee, hey, I've got 10 to 15 hours a week that I can dedicate to the business. That doesn't mean you're spending 5 and everything is going to go well. You've got to spend that allotted time. And so we'll even talk to people, especially if it's semi-absentee, almost kind of like do a diary for a week or 2 of how much time can I spend? What's that going to cut into? Is it cutting into something important, like maybe family time? Maybe it's like, oh, well, I can do it, but I can't do, my workout. I can't take my kid to soccer practice. I can't do this and can't do that. Those are all things I want to do. So maybe not. Is it, well, I got to cut down watching TV for, 90 minutes. We can probably handle that, right? But you still have to kind of have the why behind it. The other part of time is to open. Now we've gone through the discovery process. We know the time that you're going to spend as an owner. You have the time to spend it throughout the discovery process. And now we've gotten to the fun day. We are signing the franchise agreement. Congratulations, celebrate, have fun with that. Now, when do I get to be open? And so there's a kind of a misconception sometimes that signing equals open. Absolutely, positively not. Like if we go super fast and we sign a franchise agreement today and it's a non-brick and mortar, non-licensure type of franchise, 60 to 90 days is probably kind of a good target for being open, because we have to, do this thing called get trained. We've got to set up every last little bit. We got to create a website. We got to start the marketing almost immediately, right? Because we want whatever day one is 90 days from now. Like, I don't want you sitting around twiddling your thumbs and go, well, I should probably get some, what are those called? Customers. We want that funnel already starting to be full before you're open. So there is a ton of stuff that you're going to do. That's it. That's if it goes fast, right? Even if it could go that fast, can it take longer? Can you usually have up to 6 months, sometimes a little bit longer if maybe we're ramping down a job or we got whatever, like maybe we're timing it to, we're going to start a landscape franchise and we live in Minnesota. And I'd like to really launch that in, the spring, and I'm signing the franchise agreement in September. That's an acceptable window, right? If we're signing it today on December 10th, and I want to be open in the spring, then we got to get going. That's 60 to 90 days. We can make that happen. If it's brick and mortar, just probably set yourself as an expectation at a minimum of 6 months. The bigger, the more build out, the longer that can get towards 9 or 12 months from that signing until then. Are you going to be completely full-time? If you're a full-time owner, are you going to be completely full-time during that entire build-out phase? No, probably not. So if people are working, they're usually going to keep their job for a while in there. If it's that non-brick and mortar thing and I'm jumping in full-time, you may not quit your job 2 seconds after signing the franchise agreement, but you're going to do it pretty quickly. And you probably are excited about that. So you've got that. And then the other piece of the time kind of drives us back to why anybody should really look at this. How much time do you have in your life outside of work? And even within work, how much control do you have over that? And if the answer is not 100%, then do you want full control over your time, your schedule, your freedom, your flexibility, and what you are doing in those hours? If so, then, hey, have you heard of FranCoach? That's what we're here for. Let's talk. And there's something magical about the end of the year and rolling into the new year, new you. Who has ever created a New Year's resolution, right? Show of hands, right? Get them up. Are you in the back? Raise your hand. We've all probably done that. Have we all broken them? Yep. Let's raise our hands. But if you're sitting there from a time standpoint, I do have enough time. I've got a few hours a week to complete this discovery process, to figure out how much time you would have as an owner and all of the other things that we're going to figure out into this. Are you happy with the amount of time you have and what you're doing in it? If not, then that's what we're here for. That time, the control over it is the number one reason people become franchise owners. The money follows the fit. We say that all the time around here. So it's really kind of the why behind, I want more control. And if you're sitting in that space, then let's talk, folks. What the time's ticking, right? Father time is undefeated. So we're all losing that battle. So the longer we wait until we get what we want in our life. And again, if it's control over the time, freedom, flexibility, decisions, all of those things, FranCoach.net is where you're going to find us. There's never, ever any fee for our service. No, really, we're kind of like recruiters in the corporate world. We're compensated by the franchisors. We're partnered with well over 600 of them to make sure that we are focused on you and your best interests, not ours. I don't care which franchise you start, folks. Neither does our team. We're here to help you. Franchise ownership is the most individualized and personalized thing out there. Literally, I tell our clients all the time, I need you to be selfish going through this journey because you're the one that came here and said something is missing in your life. Lack of control, all of the things. Let's make it as ideal as possible, right? So that's us. Reach out to us, francoach.net. You're always going to work with somebody that is going to be FranCoach emailed, folks. We're here to be able to help you with that. So that's a little bit. So again, this all came up the other day about time to complete the discovery process. And we're 220 some episodes in. I'm like, holy crap, I don't have anything that actually talks about that. But then it just kind of rolls into time, and the control over it is really one of the biggest drivers. So if you're sitting there, francoach.net, we've got a couple guests coming up over the next 2 weeks that I'm really excited about. And then, as always, don't forget our TV show, the Franchising 360 show, every Friday night, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific on Biz TV. We're getting a little better. We suck less, so I'm more confident that you should tune in to hear all sorts of things about the world of franchising. That's us. That's the podcast. Thanks for tuning in. As always, we greatly appreciate your following and your support and your listening. And we hope we can talk to you soon. So thanks so much. Have a great day. We'll catch up with you next week.